Get a personal video message for yourself or as a gift for someone else. For personal connections, shoutouts, birthdays, proposals, weddings, and much more. Enter your details about yourself so the celebrity can record a personal video message especially for you, including details such as your name, age, birthday, hobbies, or whatever else you include. As soon as the video has been recorded, you'll get an email with your link so you can share it on social media or download and keep it. Celebrities record videos as and when they can, usually within 2 weeks. But if you want a video for a specific date and it does not look like it will arrive in time, you can cancel it and get an instant refund at the click of a button. There are hundreds of celebrities to choose from and many more joining every day. Search by category or genre, buy a gift voucher, get updates and offers, and encourage your favorite celebrities to join so they can connect with fans in a fun and unique way. Raise money for their charities and much more. So order your video now for yourself or for someone else.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the KeithAndrewNetwork. I am your host, Keith Andrew, along here with John Cunningham. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you're supporting a good cause, making a new friend out of it. You can ask me anything you want, talk about anything you like, gloves off. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a show's about disabilities, but I like giving people freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. So it's uncensored. You can say anything you want, talk about anything you want. This is your time. But for the message of the show, I want to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and to prove to people you can still amount to something. And to prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So hashtag break the labels. That being said, half hour, 44 minutes of your time. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, my God-given name is John Cunningham. I go by JC in the industry, so it's easy to figure out where I got the JC from. But it wasn't. I'm not Jesus Christ, so I'm not. That's not my. But well, anyway, so I started in the music industry maybe about 7 years ago. Originally, I met this girl that I know, basically just doing collecting money at her events in Brooklyn. And then from there, I ended up meeting a hip-hop pioneer by the name of Little Rodney C. from the Funky 4+1. Ended up doing events with him, and the rest was like history. You know, I manage artists, booking, and you know, both known and you know, upcoming, and just been doing that for like, you know, going on 8. Well, actually, it was November 2010, so it's 7 years this month. So that's basically it. You know.
Now, who influenced you to get into that kind of work?
Well, I actually had wanted to get into. I actually went to college to become a DJ. I majored in communications at they used to call it the Nassau Community Country Club, but it was a community college. Like, you know, they used to make a joke because, like, you know, they said like almost anybody could pass. I mean, I've always was very intelligent to myself, but, you know, I'm not saying that in a bragging way, but so I went there, but then I went through a whole bunch of, actually, to be honest, I started to indulge in the spirit, so to speak. Not the kind of spirit that you would get in church, the kind of spirit that a lot of people indulge with, say, like tomorrow night, the night before Thanksgiving or New Year's Eve. And I got caught up in a whole bunch of stuff. So that just basically derailed my any, intention of doing basically anything, really. But what happened was, like, when I had met that lady years later, you're talking about like maybe over 20-year period in between. It just, it was just presented to me again. And that was, because I had been sober for 7 years at the time. So like basically at that point I could do, all that different stuff, So that's how that came about, And it was a blessing, it was nothing on my end, it just happened to be, something that happened, I was blessed to have that opportunity.
No, absolutely. Now, during your time in the music career, have you ever worked with people with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities?
If I did, I really don't know. I mean, I really didn't, I wasn't really told anything about that. So probably, I would assume so, but I really don't even know,
All right. Well, do you have your own company or do you just work in the interstate?
Oh, the name of the company I started up was called the Groundbreakers, and the Groundbreakers were a whole bunch of pioneers in old school hip hop that had started. And actually, the purpose of it was the beginning purpose of it was to provide dental care and stuff for people that didn't have, because like a lot of old, there was a lot of old artists, whatever genre they were in, that like sometimes not everybody is like a Diana Ross or someone that had kept their finances like on a high level for like 80 years. I'm not trying to be funny, but some people have they fell off for whatever reason. They might have started drinking too much. They might have would have had financial difficulties in whatever area. So the purpose of the company was like to provide insurance and dental care and a whole bunch of different stuff to those people that were in the pioneers in the music industry, and particularly in that genre. But it could have covered any genre really. Basically. So that was the whole thing with that.
So well, you mentioned you do hip hop, but what is some of the other genres that you cover?
Oh, all of them really. Anything really. I don't really have like a whole bunch of like country people or anything like that. But I mean, but if they came along, I mean, it would be anything. Anything that would be just as good as well. I've experienced that gospel, rock, a whole bunch of different genres of music. But I mean, I don't care if if an opera singer called me tomorrow, it'd be just as good. It's all same thing.
All right, let's give people like a insight look to what you do. So, say on an everyday basis, do you go looking for talent, or does talent come to you?
A little bit of both. I get a lot of people, through with being the internet is big today. I get a lot of people just basically doing the simple stuff like messaging me on Facebook or on Twitter. I had a guy about 3 weeks ago. He basically just said that he was on Twitter and he was going through a whole bunch of going through a whole bunch of names like promoters and booking people and all booking agents and all that. And he just saw a post and just called a number. So I mean, it could be any as simple as that, or I'm at a lot of different events, so I meet people all the time, all over the city, outside of the city. I've been to other states. But, I meet people all different kinds of ways. I meet people in the pizzeria, everywhere. It does it. Train station, anywhere there is, I never know where I'm going to meet somebody next. So basically, I guess you could say, the basic answer is, yeah, a little bit of both, and And a lot of times I meet them when I'm not really even expecting them to meet them. You never know what's going to happen next. You know.
No, I agree with you. So let's look at it like this. So, for an example, I say I approached you and said I want to work with you. Would that be a possibility, or do you just work for upcoming singers?
Well, say the first part. I didn't hear the first part again.
I say hypothetically, if I said I wanted to work with you, would you be interested, or do you just work with upcoming singers and basically singers?
No, anybody, basically. Anybody that could be the highest of the high, or that somebody is just starting out 5 minutes ago. Don't really make a difference. As long as it makes sense. That's the most. And most in this industry, most of the time, makes sense means money. But for me, it's not all about money. If it makes sense, like you could have somebody, and I don't say this to be funny. You could have somebody that could be very profitable, but they're very difficult to associate with, and that keys in too. I mean, you don't want to like have someone, just hook up with somebody because they're going to be very successful, and then they have like a million, they have a lot of drama about them. They're not really, I'm not trying to put it nicely, but, they're not really. They have a lot of, nonsense about them, and you don't want to deal with all that either. But so basically, no, it doesn't really matter. Whoever it is, as long as it's within reason.
Right. What are some of the steps that you have to take, or does the person have to take to work with you? Do you do like a background check? Do you have your own studio? What is like the whole process?
Well, basically, when they do call me, the first thing that if they would work, the contract is a very important thing. A lot of people, this in the music industry or any of the industries, film industry, all that, you have a lot of fly by night kind of people, and I don't say that in a bad way, but you might have somebody calling you up, like they might call you up, Keith. I hear you manage opera singers. Let's just say, for example. So you have somebody, oh, okay, I have a great opera singer. They're the best thing going, that New York has to offer. But at that point, it's all words, so you have to, like you said about investigate, background check. Like Google sometimes works, but from my experience, like having the personal connection, a personal, a mutual person that might know that person's background or whatever, that's even better than the usual Google and all that. Because I've had some situations where I brought some people to other people, and they might have had an offer, and that might have sounded real good in the moment, but then I might have talking to you, for example, and you might have said, "Oh, wait a minute, are you talking about Mr. Robinson? No, I wouldn't deal with him. He just ripped me off for $200 last week, like something like that, for example." And then it's a whole different perspective to it. The person that was looking like they were the best thing going, all of a sudden turns into like, no, I don't think I want to be bothered with you. So basically, yeah, that would be like if they call up, if they're serious, then like paperwork would be very important. Because paperwork, is not a cure-all. Because there's people that have gotten around that too, but it's a lot better than if they just call you and say, "Well, let's do this and this and this," and then maybe you might hear from them 3 weeks later, and then maybe another month later, and then 2 months later, and all kinds of stuff like that. So
I agree. What is your opinion about social media? What's the type of work you do? Do you think, and what I say to people is, do you think social media can make you or break you? And what's the type of work you do? What is your opinion about it?
A little bit of both. What you just said with the making and breaking, it could definitely make you, because years ago there was no social media, so people had to go through the old-fashioned way, like I'll give you an example. Talent scouts, Berry Gordy in Motown. Barry Gordy didn't have the luxury of having Twitter and Instagram and all that. So Barry Gordy basically had to hit the pavement like every day. He had to go out like someone that was a door-to-door salesman. He had to find the events, go down to the events, find the best artists, and it was like right all on the spot training. Today you don't have to even do that. You just go on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff, and you see everybody. You see a lot of people, and you see how their numbers are and what their fan base is looking like, and all that stuff, and then you go from there. Social media, though, the drawback of it is there's like no privacy. Excuse me. There's no, I guess everybody sees everything that's going on. Then you see a lot of world issues coming about, I might like Clinton, you might like Trump, and they always, oh no, I can't mess with that guy. He's a Hillary Clinton supporter, and and there's a lot of nonsense that comes out of it that doesn't really even need to be there. Like if you're trying to establish a connection with somebody, then that's what it is. It's about the business connection with somebody. It's not about who you voted for senator, or what your opinion on gay rights is, or anything That's all separate kind of stuff. That's a personal, one person's personal viewpoint. So, but I mean, like I said, it's good and it's bad. It could be really good and it could get really controversial sometimes. So it's a matter of like what you want to be involved in. If you don't want to be involved in the controversy, then you don't need to be involved in it. So just like anything else, it has its good and its bad points.
Now, my next question I was going to ask you is what makes you want to work with someone? Do you look at their following or do you look at their message? And for an example, say you have a choice in saying, okay, Keith, we like your message, we want to work with you, but I don't really have that much of a strong following. But yet you have a singer who's really great and she has a big following, but she can be an asshole. What weighs out the cons and what are the cons and pros?
Well, listen. You could overcome, what I was saying before about, like the person, the person's personality and all that. I mean, listen, and I don't say this to be funny, but if you looked at everyone that had like the slightest of character flaws, there might be like 10 people left in the whole business. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I don't say that to be funny, there's a lot of people that have their personality quirks and all that. So I don't know, what I meant like by difficult is, I mean, like the person that's constantly difficult. Like, you're talking about the sun and they're talking about the moon. You're talking about the daytime and they're in the nighttime. Constantly very hard it makes it a little bit more difficult. Now, of course, with a lot of people, the purpose in the music business or any industry is financial gain to a lot of people. So a lot of people will overlook that kind of stuff. You could be the worst person in the world, but if you're bringing in $2 million, I mean, that's all that matters. For me, like, you don't have to be, have the greatest personality in the world, but as long as you're not too, as long as you're not the person that's always like argumentative all the time, difficult to get along with all the time. That's it. Anything else, people are going to have their faults here and there. They're not going to be perfect or anything. So, I mean, so as far as, I guess you just said before we could say whatever we want. So I guess the part about being an asshole, I mean, as long as it really didn't really affect too much of the situation, I guess that would be all right too as well, as long as they were too much of an asshole,
I agree. Now
yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and with the last 10 minutes left, I'm going to pass the show over to you.
Okay. Nice.
412. I'm your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is John Cunningham. That's the last 10 minutes. I'm going to pass the show over to you. Was there anything you wanted to talk about and promote? This is your time, after all.
Well, I basically wanted to know how you got started. How did you get started with all that?
Well, there's a lot of different variations of the story. I used a couple people for my inspiration. I got tired of using my learning disability as a crutch because the longest time I was using it for a weakness instead of a strength. And I decided, I'm going to show people, hey, you may label me as this and that, but I'm going to show you that's not going to dictate who I am and who I'm going to be. I'm going to show you I can still amount to something. And funny enough, I was thinking, what else is there I can use? And I was like, well, if you really want to go dig back, you can say I always started with a birthday list. Funny enough.
Say it again, you started with what?
Oh, it started with a birthday list.
Tuberculous.
Yeah, birthday list. So I'll give you an example. When I turned 21, people said to me, it's the most special birthday you can have in a lifetime. You only turn 21 once. And well, I'm like CM Punk. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I walk to the beat of my own drum. If I have to die, I would like to have a couple of famous friends. And I was thinking, and then I was asking celebrities, and I was introducing myself, saying, hey, I have a disability. And this is way before my talk show. And I was just thought, to actually go looking at it now, it's kind of really stupid because there was no point to it. But I was like asking celebrities, I was being upfront with them, and I was being told off, and I was thinking about maybe if I'm one fist, I can go about a different way. And so I put that on hold. And after, sitting around with my family and being said, you're not qualified, you're not capable of holding a job, you're not qualified to do this and that, you're handicapped, you're retarded. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to show you guys with a disability, I can still amount to something. And for 4.5 years, I've been doing my talk show. Unofficially, I did about 772 because I made some mistakes. So I'll give you an example. Say I met you the first time. I would take you at your word and say, let's do the interview. And little by little, you would say, yeah, my agent said, my publicist said, you ask a lot of stupid questions. You're degrading. We don't want to be seen with people like you. We don't want to be associated with people like you. So I went to a lawyer, and he said, lawyer / senior advisor. He gave me the rundown. It says, you don't have to be trademarked because you're not making money. Copyrighted, you have an online presence so everyone knows who you are. He says your biggest mistake was you weren't having people sign permission forms because I was taking people at their word. So that 300 that I got the first time dropped down to like 200, and I had to swallow like about 100. And so I went back to the people and it's like, here's a permission form. I introduce myself. I tell you what the show's about. Do I have your permission? Have you said the interview? Some said yes, some said no. And I was like, screw it. At the time, I was called uncensored. So I was like, if I'm going to do it over, might as well use the KeithAndrewNetWork name. So I took it down. I rebranded myself as the KeithAndrewNetwork. I do keep the uncensored part as in freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. And, now I'm in total, yes, I did over 772. But officially, thanks to you, we're up to 412. So I'm showing people, yes, I made some mistakes along the way, but look at what I'm able to accomplish. Or look at what I have accomplished.
Right. Okay. How many people usually experience the show on a like how many
Oh, viewers, it usually depends on the guest. I share it on Instagram, Twitter.
So does that mean we only got 2 people today since I'm on here? No, I'm only kidding. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
I share it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I expect who I interview too to share it on all their social medias. And it depends on the guest. Some, I can't snap my fingers, but it will shoot up from 0 to about 50, then 50 to 70. So it depends on the person who I'm interviewing, that
Right.
every interview is going to be different.
Okay.
If that makes any
All right.
sense.
No, of course, of course. So I guess if you had Jimmy Kimball or somebody on here, you'd have about 1 million. uh, but anyway, okay. I can't really think of anything much more else to say.
Well, I do
Just
have a couple
about
questions for you off the air, but wrapping up, let's do the social media. Are you on Twitter, Facebook, Stage 32? Are you on any of that fun stuff?
yeah, all the above. Twitter, Instagram. Twitter would be JC in the BK. Instagram, I have a few of them, but the main ones I've been using is either Cunningham 7446 or also JC in the BK. Facebook, John Cunningham, and I'm on a whole bunch of other stuff too. I can't even keep track. There's so many of them that I don't even know. Like the Pinterest and all that other different stuff. But you know, with those basically, I'm on all the main stuff. You know,
All right.
you know,
I do
not
have.
too hard. I mean,
Now I do apologize. Skype, it cuts in and cuts out.
yeah. I actually haven't been on Skype. I don't think. I think the last time was like it must have been about 25 years since I've been on. No, it's not. I'm only kidding. It's been a while though that I've been on Skype. I don't really use it as much as I used to, but
Yeah,
no, it's
I really don't
uh,
like the new layout. It's really crappy.
yeah, yeah, no, okay.
But
Are you on all kinds of video chat as well, like Marco Polo and all that stuff too, as well? And
well, for the most part, I'm on a Skype recorder, and the other stuff you do have to pay with. But I'm happy with using Skype recorder for the most part. I tried using Zoom, but what I liked about Zoom is when you say something, the camera's on you. And when I say
right,
something, it goes to me. But when it goes to me, you have everything in the background. I'm trying to hide that. So with Skype Recorder,
yeah,
I can condense it so it looks more like Fox News and all the other networks. Instead of
right,
having, the great beyond right behind you and, a tumbleweed going across the screen. But,
right.
I do have a couple questions off the air, but when I first approached you, going on the record, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your
Yeah.
first reaction and what made you say yes to being a guest?
Well, for one, it was a different kind of scenario, like what you were saying, about your situation and all that different stuff. It was something that you don't encounter like every day, which I'm not, that's a good thing. I'm saying that, of course, in a good way. And I don't know, you seem all right to me, So I mean, what the hell, it seemed like a decent idea. So I'm here. There was no like particular bolt of lightning that hit me. Say, yeah, we got to do Keith's show. It just sounded it sounded okay. So gave it a shot. That's all.
No, I
And
appreciate it.
I'm glad because it was pretty good. To tell you the truth.
No, I appreciate it. Now stay tuned for after the show. I have a couple questions. While wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest. And I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to part two and building a friendship with you as well.
Okay. And of course, have a blessed holiday and all that stuff. We're coming up on Thanksgiving in about 30 and a half hours, so we're getting close. So, all right.